Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach and I got nerd sniped. A couple days ago, a friend of mine told me at the place that he's working at that they had found a piece of code that kind of sort of like, okay, never mind. I'll get to that in a second. Okay, get distracted very easily. Basically, he had a situation where they had code like this. And actually, I had a different example in here too. I had int calculate t value or something like that, int a, and that does a times 2. Okay, that'll be important. What he basically found is a class that has an unused generic parameter. In this case, it's t1. Okay, t2 is used later in the parameter definition of value in getData. Actually, the example that he had was just a class that had one generic parameter, but it was never being used. So what he thought was, well, that was kind of useless. And I actually thought there would be something like an analyzer. Like you could use an analyzer to figure out that that's being unused. There's a similar-ish thing. If I say public void do it int a, and let's just say I say string here, do it, and I return go, you'll see a little thing under the a that says a is not used. Okay, and there's other ones too. If you have fields that are assigned that could be but never used, that could be something that you at least want to remove the field. Maybe the assignment of the field causes a side effect, so you still have to consider that, but you can potentially get rid of the field. Variables and methods that aren't being used. I think there's other ones like that. And it's good that we have these analyzers because it's very easy as you're doing changes to code to suddenly to have the ability to remove stuff. Removing code is always a good thing. Building code is good. Removing code is also equally better or worse than adding code. Yeah. So I thought, well, there's got to be something for the generic, and there isn't. In fact, I checked, and as far as I can tell, there's nothing in FXCOP analyzers, at least, to catch this. So I finally decided to put a bug in, or not a bug, but suggest this, to say, hey, if you've got a case where you're not using them either at the type or method level, that they get flagged. Okay. Now, I don't know how long there's going to be a reaction to this. I don't know if they're going to say, yes, this is a good idea, but I did put in here at the bottom that says, I'd be interested in contributing to implementing it, because I think I can do it. But then I went, could I do it? Is it actually possible to do this? Okay, so we're going to put in a, this is all just kind of scratch code. I'm not necessarily meaning to keep it this way, even if I can't get it to work. So we're going to say public static class syntax node extensions, and then we'll put this in here. The reason I'm doing this is because as I was going through the implementation, which I'll explain in a moment, I think I'm going to need the ability to go find the parent node. Okay. Now, what I first thought I might be able to do is use some API that already exists in Roslyn to say, hey, find all the references to this generic parameter. What I probably can also do is look up the code that actually tries to catch that instance of an unused parameter in a method. I mean, there's got to be some similarities there. So that might be something to look at. Okay. But because I don't care if it's already being used outside of the class, if there's instances of that class being made where they're passing in a generic because they have to, well, that's all going to have to change. Fair enough. But what I'm looking at doing is saying, remove it, because that at least shouldn't cause compilation errors within the class or within the type or within the method. Okay. So what I was doing is putting in a piece of test code, and we're going to do the type one first. So if I go to the syntax visualizer and I click on T1, it doesn't work. This is, again, this weird case where sometimes the syntax visualizer just stops working, and I don't know why. It's quite annoying, to say the least. Even a rebuild doesn't seem to help. Okay, or I was about to just close Visual Studio completely, or just type in a space, because if you're going to be, an elite 10 times coder, sometimes you have to add space to a file, and then things work, or something like that. I don't know. I was told I just had to hit the space bar, and then everything worked. Okay. So let's come back here and let's look at T1. T1 is a type parameter. So the intent is to find nodes of type parameter, okay? And the thing though here is that for like this, that's also a type parameter, okay? So we have to be a little bit careful in terms of yeah, I didn't think about this. Is the type parameter part of, because you can't just look at its parent. You have to look at its, its owner, essentially. Is that type parameter owned by a method declaration, or is it owned by a class declaration? Okay. And I could potentially get to the symbol thing here. So what I'm going to do here is say find parent, but what I want to do is potentially we'll do this either way. Okay. We're going to say that this is either a class declaration parent or a method declaration parent, because I don't believe you can do declarations. I mean, well, there may be other places. Okay, so what is potentially the right thing here? If I say context.semantic model and get, I think I've said this many times before. Classify conversion. It's just sometimes fun to go through some of this. There might be an easier way to do what I'm about to do. Get declaration diagnostics. No. Symbol associated with the declaration syntax. Now, this isn't a declaration because it's not declaring anything. Get member group. List the method. Index property symbols for syntax node. No. Let's see. If I do just get symbol info for a node, now that gives, yeah, that's just the symbol that's referred to by the syntax node, if any. So we can get a containing type, but we don't know, like, we want it to, containing method as well, because it could be a type parameter that exists on a method. So we don't necessarily know, like, I want its containing type. Okay, so I'm not sure that's the way to do this. I'm not sure find parent is necessarily the thing I want to do. I want to find if it's contained in a method first. That's fine. And I think we're going to go on this assumption for now, because again, I just want to play with this, is I think you can only define generics either at a method or a type. I don't think you can do it like, I don't think you can do it for a value of t. Yeah, set. I don't think you can do that. Yeah, unexpected use of a generic name. Okay, so we're going to go with that assumption. So we're either going to give you back and it doesn't really matter what kind of, if I say class declaration here, class Now let's put in somewhere where we can actually get a tell sense off of it. Class declaration syntax. That derives from as soon as Microsoft Visual Studio can navigate to the definition. Come on, you can do it. It is a type declaration syntax that is abhorrently slow. That's awful. I wonder if it's maybe because I have the syntax visualizer open up at the same time. That derives from a base type declaration. Yeah, you're amazing. You're amazingly fast. Member declaration. So that might be the thing we really want. Okay, so we're going to do that. And now we want a method declaration syntax. And does that actually derive from... God, this is pathetic. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, this is bad. Basically, you can tell this is morning. It is a Saturday morning when I'm doing this, and I've had some really... I've never had trouble sleeping, really. It is member declaration syntax. Okay. I've never had trouble sleeping, but man, the past couple of days I've had some, what I feel like are really just solid good night's sleep. I usually get a good night's sleep anyway, but I watched a movie last night with the family, went to bed, after reading for a little bit, and I just woke up at like 6 or 6:30, and I felt like I was awake. So I'm like, all right, might as well get up and start doing stuff. So, all right, so this will be a member declaration syntax, one way or the other. Okay. So we really don't need to find declaration parent, I don't know. And so it's going to be a member declaration syntax. We don't need that in there anymore. We just need to say if parent node is a type declaration syntax, type declaration, okay, then we'll return that. Else if parent node is a method declaration syntax, method declaration, then we'll return that. Okay, let's close the syntax visualizer for a second because that sometimes makes it a little wonky. So, well, it's not null. If the parent node is that, we return that. They're both derived from that, so that works. So we're going to go up to class or a struct declaration. We're actually going to say our parent declaration equal to node find declaration. And we're going to say parent. Okay. And try to find any identifier within that with the same name as the node identifier. So actually last night I was cutting the grass, and because this happened right near the weekend, and so I've been thinking about this, like how am I going to do this? And I started realizing I think I can do it by just trying to find where do you actually use that declaration. Because this, again, as far as I can tell, I don't think there's any API within Roslyn to say, go find this for me. Where is it all being used? I mean, there is, because there's functionality like find all references, but I don't think at an analyzer level that's available. I could be wrong in this. Okay. So what I started to think about is, if I have a generic, where could it all possibly be used? Well, I could use, for example, private T2 value, or thingy. That's valid. If I have a method here, public void foo, okay, could I say, like, I can't say var int is equal to 3. You can't use that there. That's not allowed. Okay. The var, yeah, because int gets, like if I say int t, then it's all fine. Okay. Can I say t2 here? I think that's okay, but it's going to say, well, it's going to say unnecessary assignment. Okay. So what I don't want here are identifier names of like an actual variable. I want this thing here. Okay. So what I'm getting at is, where are all the places? Like if I said here T2, because that's a generic, that should be part of the T2 is that. That's fine. Okay. We're getting that error, but that's fine. This is okay. Okay. I could also say here that I'm returning a T2. I'm going to get an error because I don't return a T2, but that's a valid usage of it. And I'm not going to catch all these, but I want to at least just get an idea as to where you could possibly use this. So they could be used for, let's put this back in here again. Again, got a space. See, I'm telling you, space is the way to go. I want to look at a variable declaration, field declaration, variable declaration, field declaration, variable declaration, identifier name. Okay, that's this one. This one is a parameter identifier name. Parameter identifier. So basically what I'm getting is I'm going to have to look at identifiers, but only identifiers for certain conditions. Okay. This is the identifier name of a method declaration. If I made this void, what would that be? That's a predefined type. Okay, so I don't care about that, because if it was a predefined type, it would be something that is predefined. That's not this case. Okay, this case is I'm putting a return value of T2. So in the method declaration, we have an identifier of T2. Okay, so if I did this and I put that there, which is fine, that would also be an identifier name for the method declaration, right? So if I go to identifier, this is, oh, again, gotta do space. Okay. It's just hilarious. So it's the method's declaration. Well, identifier here is the name of the method. Okay, so I gotta be a little careful here. The return type. Okay, so method declaration, return type, identifier name. Okay, because that in case, again, this is the method declaration. It has a return type, which we can't get to here. If I made this just foo, again, I'm sorry, void, then this method declaration, whatever return type of void. Okay, so we'd have to look at the name here. Okay. Find unused generics, which is not valid. That would be, so that is now with the method declaration, come on, its return type is that. Okay, so we could look at the return type and say, is that a thing there? Okay. Let's go back here to this parameter because I want to make sure I got that right. The parameter, not the identifier, the type. Yeah. Okay, and then this is a field declaration with a variable declaration of a type with an identifier name of that. Okay. Now this variable here is another case. Okay. So that is another variable declaration with a type. So again, this is variable declaration with a type of identifier name. Okay. Now we don't want to look at all identifier names here. That's the thing. We want to only look for certain cases. Okay. So let's just kind of bash this out and see what we come up with. Okay. So let me keep this up here. And the first thing I want to do is say parent declaration descendant let's say descendant nodes for now. And then we can do a function where we true, because we want to, I think that's saying go to all children. Yes. And it defaults to doing a descendant attribute is false, because we don't want to do that. We just want to find nodes of type field declaration. If in the descendant nodes of type field declaration dot where, we can say any, right? Because we can do a, yeah, where the field's variable declaration identifier. See, this is what you see over in the syntax visualizer, and what you get here are always like can you just give me the text? I don't know how many times this has just driven me nuts, where it's like, just get me the text. Text, text, text. I think I can just do toString here. But it's just mind-boggling how I just want to say here, well, I get to, oh, I want to, yeah, I have name, text, identifier? No, of course not. You wouldn't do any of that now, would you? You're just being a jerk. Because this is the type syntax, yeah. Get text, yeah. You would just not have the ability to give me the identifier, right? No, you wouldn't. You're just being a jerk. So you know what? Fine. Get text. I hate you. I really hate you. I mean, again, you can come up here, and I can go to the syntax visualizer. Okay, syntax visualizer. Put it in there. Do this. Put your space in and come back, because that fixes everything. Okay. I can be here. Yeah, it does not like also errors. It's a sign of a good coder. Don't do errors. Okay. I can be, I'm sorry, here. That's really confusing it too that I have this split, I think. Wow, you're not moving at all, are you? Oh, jeez. Yeah, you're really getting confused. Wow. Oh, gee. You are kidding me that badly. That's sad. That is really, really sad. I'm pretty shocked that it died that badly. Wow. Okay, well, anyway, coming back to what I was trying to do. So you can see here you have a field declaration of a... See, the variable doesn't even show here. Like, it's not even, this is not even in the list. But you obviously have a variable declaration that has a type. Okay? You know, but fine, it doesn't show up in the list here. Like, I get they're not... This extension is nice. This window is nice, but I also find it very lacking at times. View directed syntax graph. Yeah, whatever. You're no help to me. You're dead to me. See, but you can see the identifier name here. That's what I don't get. A variable declaration. Even though it doesn't show up here, it has an identifier name. That's part of the tree. So then why can't I get it down here? That's what just boggles my mind. Okay. Whatever. I'm just toString, because obviously I'm an idiot. Okay, so if I come back up here and I say var node name is equal to node.identify. See, there's identifier. Turns a text representation of the value of the token, for example, the token is an integer, probably return a string representing the integer. I think we just want text. Yeah. Equals node name. Okay. Okay, so if we find this, well, let's just say if we did this one, okay, we would not have an unused identifier. Just if we were looking at fields, okay. So that would not, that would basically say, okay, it is being used. We'd break out, okay. Or on the parent declaration set, send a node to tokens true of type. I'm cringing already how painful this is. Parameter syntax any dot parameter type identifier name. Type identifier. Of course not. But we can get the text of it, right? No, get text. ToString is equal to node name. Okay. So if it doesn't exist on if it doesn't exist on any field declarations, and it doesn't exist on any parameter syntax names, and I'm going to stop and do another video because I need to get coffee and I'm at my time, but we'll continue on with this, and then I won't write any unit tests with this, but I will play with this in the V6, okay, because I used the template and I didn't clean up the template like I've sometimes told people to do so. I'm mostly interested in, can I actually kind of do this, and what cases am I missing? So I'm going to take a break and start up another episode, but this one is done. So thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.